Welcome back to Soundwell Guitar. That technique that I just demonstrated is a very popular shred technique known as tremolo picking. Now, what you probably observed is the picking technique involved like just going down, up, really fast, okay? And that is essentially what it is, tremolo picking. Why this is necessary on the guitar and why it's such a great technique to develop is because the guitar does not, the notes decay right away as soon as you hit it. As opposed to other instruments like, say, the voice, you can just hold it out. Doesn't take a whole lot of technique to be able to do that. The bowed instrument, like a violin, just the bow just keeps going. Or if it's a flute, you just keep blowing, and it just keeps going. But on the guitar, no, it starts to decay right away, and so you keep the note sustained by picking it over and over. Now, I wanted to make this video because it's funny how this is one of the first techniques I got really good at. I didn't even know how to play a C chord, but I could tremolo pick really well. But there was a secret that I had. Now, this isn't a secret technique I'm going to pass off onto you. It was a secret. I kept it a secret from my friends. My two friends that also got guitars around the same time as me. All right. We all had 3 different guitars, but I had this one guitar. It was very unique, and I want to make a video about it one day because this guitar was very unique, and I didn't know it at the time. It's now known as the Jack White guitar, but this was 1984, so it was not known as the Jack White guitar. It was the Montgomery Ward Rezo Glass Airline guitar. Now, it didn't have a name on it, so I didn't know that at the time. I did not learn what it was until decades later, until the internet came out and I could actually research it and found out that's what it was. Now, why this guitar was significant to my tremolo picking technique is this. The pickups weren't like these where they're kind of set low and they've got grooves and stuff with the screw heads. They were smooth, chrome plated, and the one next to the bridge was really close to the strings. Really close. And so when I would pick really fast, my pick never ran the risk of going in too deep, which in the event that it does, that's what happens, and what you really want is just glide off the top to get that fast sound. Otherwise, once it goes too deep, it's just going to get clunky. And that's what my buddies were struggling with when they tremolo picked it. It was kind of like that. They were still working at it. But I had it down because I had that secret. Again, I kept it secret because I had a big ego when I was a kid, and I was they thought I was some kind of guitar god because I was tremolo picking so fast and clean. But I knew that without that guitar, there's no way that I'd be able to tremolo pick like that. Anyway, so kind of funny on how I got busted out on that. I was at a sleepover, and me and my 2 buddies, we brought our guitars, and we're doing a guitar sleepover, and we're jamming along to MTV videos and pretending to perform, and we're just being whatever kids. And I left my guitar unattended at the couch, and all of a sudden one of my buddies went over and decided to play my guitar. And he picks it up and he starts tremolo picking perfectly. And he looks up at me, and I was like, oh man, he found out my secret. And he looks at me, he's like, busted. He's like, that's how you do it. It's because of this pickup. I'm like, all right, guilty, yes. Okay, so obviously I learned to tremolo pick without it eventually. I was always worried that I was going to always need those training wheels, but I didn't. So it's interesting if we move forward in the future. I was still really good at it. I just found a way to be able to do it without that handicap, and I could do it. But something that was interesting though too is I was always picking from my elbow. And this is something that I talk about with students because the teacher that I studied under was a brilliant jazz player. And I didn't realize it, but I guess a lot of jazz players would encourage that picking comes from the elbow. And because it's stronger and has more stamina. And the wrist is not. Okay, well, that what I was picking from the elbow, and I was really good at it, doing this tremolo picking thing. I thought, I'm 100% doing this correctly. But I always kind of wondered, though, if I want to palm it, how do I do that? If I'm picking from the elbow, I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to open that can of worms. Well, the thing was, I've been doing it like that for a long time and getting away with it. But then one of the first things that I looked up on YouTube when YouTube first came out, back in like 05, 06, that was kind of when I jumped on it. I decided to, first thing I looked up was Paul Gilbert, because Paul Gilbert's, all of his technique is unrivaled, but like his right hand, you really notice right away how clean and fast that is. And the first thing I found was him doing a rudiment that was something like this. And he was palm muting it. And he was doing it really fast. And he was doing it clearly with his wrist because he was palm muting it. I was like, oh no, this is what I've been fearing for so long and avoiding. Do I have to relearn this technique? And I decided to just bite the bullet. I'm going to learn to tremolo pick just as good as I always have, but I'm going to use my wrist. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I just have to rewire my brain. And how am I going to do it? It's exactly what I did. I just started picking from the wrist, but I forced myself to palm mute what I was doing. Because as soon as I would not palm mute it, I was back to playing with the wrist. But if I palm muted it, I had no choice but to pick from the wrist. And so really, I then just started doing the rudiment that he was doing, which was... I think I remember that right. And then I added to it. Really good patterns. And then I wound up coming across more or creating some of my own. But I just kept playing it over and over. Palm muted. Making sure also is another thing that I didn't realize. I've read in shred books that they would say that the pick is supposed to be parallel with the string. I've read that many times, and I used to believe it because mine is really close to being parallel with the string. And I was having a conversation with another really accomplished guitar player one night, and he saw it, and he said, I've never seen somebody pick that fast where the pick is not at an angle. I was like, it's supposed to be parallel with the string, right? He's like, no. And he knew his stuff. We're like, I don't know how I'm doing that then, but that's what I've always read. Well, later that night it was bothering me, so I went home and I just started picking really fast. And then I stopped right mid to see like I just did now, and I froze. And then I looked at my hand and saw, no, it's really close to being parallel with the string, but it's not. It is slightly angled this way. And that's the way it would be if I stood up to play, because when you stand up, the guitar is at an angle. I'd have to angle my hand in a weird way if I wanted that pick to be parallel with a string. But furthermore, what would that sound like if my pick truly was parallel with a string? That's not very good. See that? As soon as I angled, much different sound. Anyway, a couple of little tips and tricks here and a funny story. I hope you found it educational or at least entertaining, and thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.